Hello and welcome to the United Stand. How are you all doing? It's Thursday night if you're watching live. We're live at 8 PM for a good reason. Some of us will be catching some Z's after the United Stand. Maybe get 4 hours in before we play Manchester City on the US tour. I think it's 2:30 UK time kickoff. I will be there. There will be a watch along from 1:30. Very much looking forward to it. Yes, it's a pre-season game, but it's Manchester United versus Manchester City. I don't really care if we're playing Everton. The importance of it is that we're playing a team that we know, will know the opposition, will know how to gauge it. So very, very excited about that. And if you are thinking about sleeping and missing it, cop yourself on, get yourself up at 1:30, join the United Stand. There'll be thousands of us watching all together. It's an experience. And if you've got work or school tomorrow, sack it off or go in tired because it's going to be really good. But we're here to talk about Manchester United's last signing, Jose Mourinho's last signing. He gave that interview overnight. If you didn't see the transfer show this morning, always watch the transfer show on the United Stand in the morning because it's always hot off the press stuff. None of this late at night stuff. Things happens overnight. Manchester United in America, when we're asleep, they're awake. Stuff comes out. Watch us in the morning. Mourinho saying that he would like to have had 2 more signings that he's got at the moment. He would like to have had them on the tour, but he doesn't blame anybody. He's the owners don't want to overpay, and he'll be happy if he gets 1 more just to provide a little balance. Basically saying he wants to make do. I'm not happy about it. We're Manchester United. We've got more money than anybody else, and we're penny pinching. And as a Manchester United fan, why are we bothered about value in the market or penny pinching? I don't see United, as I said this morning, I don't see Manchester United Football Club penny pinching when they want to charge 90 quid for the new shirt. So more than happy to bump the prices up to us, the fans, but don't want to overpay for players that we give them the money to buy. But that's another argument for another day. Who will be Mourinho's last signing? If he's saying he only wants 1 more, who will it be? And I'm going to mark these players out of 10, and there will be some of you commenting as well, but I have a few to fire into straight away. Fabinho is somebody that people would love to come to Manchester United, and I would like him to come as well. I don't think Fabinho will come to Manchester United. I've got no information that he's going to come to United, and to be honest, I won't hide away from the fact that the information that most people have had this year about this summer about Manchester United has been abysmal at best. We were told Lindelof was going to sign a week before he did, but apart from that, I was told Perisic was going to sign on Monday night. He didn't. I was told Griezmann was going to sign, and I think he was going to if he hadn't bottled it. He didn't. So whether somebody's been told something or not, whether it's the United Stand, the Times, whoever, I wouldn't believe it. I really wouldn't, because it's been a weird old summer. We were after Morata and Perisic. We got neither. We refused to pay 75 million for Morata, but then we spent 75 million on Lukaku, and then Morata went to Chelsea for 60 million. So it's been a very frustrating and odd summer for Manchester United. There will be 1 more signing. Who will that 1 signing be? Fabinho, I would give 3 out of 10. I think it's moved. There was a time a few weeks ago when I was asked about Fabinho and I said 5 out of 10, 50-50. I'm down to 3 out of 10 now. He is there to be done. PSG want him. There's rumours that he wants to go to PSG, but Monaco don't want to sell to PSG because it's the same country. Manchester United, he's flirted, he'd love to come. His agent is the same as Jose Mourinho. We can do this deal, but Mourinho clearly doesn't want to do it, or we don't want to pay 45 million because for some reason Manchester United have suddenly decided that they only want value in the market. They're not going to overpay, and as a fan I find that really frustrating. I don't understand why why Mourinho is now settling for 1 when, yeah, you might not be able to get Perisic for less than 50 million, but there are literally hundreds of players out there in football that would be useful for Manchester United, and you can get some of them at a very decent price. So something weird's going on with United, but I don't think we'll be signing Fabinho. I think he's one of them players that the fans would like, but we've seen it over the years with the likes of Vidal and Ronaldinho and Schneider. They never happen, and I think Fabinho will be this year's player who, you know, more than happy to come to United, but we won't do the deal. And I'd love to be proved wrong, but there we go. Matich, let's talk about Nemanja Matich. I would put Matich 8 out of 10. I think he is the signing that we're going to make. I think everything points towards it. I know everyone hoped that when we took Lukaku from Chelsea, that meant that they weren't going to sell us Matich, but I think Conte's actually quite happy with Morata. He's spent close to 100, well, he spent over 100 million on Rudiger, Morata and Bakayoko. they'll want to recoup some money, and they know full well that Manchester United will give them between 30 and 40 million for Matich. Well, you know, in relation to value, who cares? But that's overpaying for Matich. I'm sorry, we won't overpay for Perisic, we won't overpay for Morata, but we'll happily do it for Matich, who is 28 when the season starts, and there's no value in Matich at 30 to 40 million pounds. But the most important thing is Matich is a decent footballer. I'm not going to move away from that. I think he was very much protected by Kante last year, and I saw him play 3 or 4 times and he didn't play that well. He's a meh signing. He's not somebody who's going to come in and make us very good. He's not going to make a massive impact. He'll be a steady midfielder. What he will also be is a slow midfielder, of which, join the club, get in line. We've got plenty of them. We've got Michael Carrick, we've got Fellaini, we've got McTominay at the moment. I'm not inspired by it, and if he's the one signing, it makes me want to cry. As I said many times, I don't dislike Matich. I don't think he's a bad footballer. I think he's bad for what we want to do. But I'm here to be proved wrong, and I'll be happy to be proved wrong, but I think he will be the one signing. Who else? Nainggolan. He's not signed a new contract yet, but I'm sure Manchester United would like to sign him. But if we, I mean, Roma would just want silly money and United wouldn't pay it, so I'd put him at a 2 out of 10. Moving away from centre defensive midfielders, because there are a few that we could still move for. Matuidi's a Raiola client. I'd take him over Matich. Eric Dyer, we're definitely not going to sign him. I think Mourinho would like to sign him, but we're not going to buy him because we don't want to overpay. I mean, I can't believe Mourinho actually came out with those words that we're not a club that will be dictated to by clubs who want too much money. I mean, how defeatist is that? And how symbolic is it when a manager comes out and says it? I think Mourinho has been very, very clever, by the way. I think he is a very clever man. And I think the lines, I don't blame anybody, it's a challenging market, but the lines AC Milan are buying somebody, but buying a lot of players, but that's down to the appetite of their owners. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what he's saying. He's basically saying, I'm not publicly going to slate my employers, but I wanted players in by this time. I gave them a list of 4. They gave me 3. They gave me 2, and they gave me 1 late. They gave me 1 that was my actual on my list as one of the first choices, and everyone else wasn't. And Mourinho will make that abundantly clear, and I think he already has. I'm just disappointed, as I said this morning, that we wanted 4. I think we needed 5, and we'll end up with 3. We're meant to be stepping forward as a club. We're meant to be building back to being title winners. We're meant to be building back to be challenging in Europe. And it feels like Mourinho's interview was very much a 1 more signing would be nice to provide a little bit more balance in my options. It's like we're mid-table Everton or someone like, well, Everton have had a good summer. It's like we're a mid-table club like Stoke. Oh, 1 more player would just give me a few more options and a bit more balance. We're Manchester United. I mean, I've read a lot of your comments, and it's all about opinion, of course. And of course, you've got a right to an opinion, but I can't believe people are defending it, saying, "Oh, you're being negative, oh, this, that, and the other." I don't think people move past the fact that this squad is not good enough, and Mourinho's had a year to realise that. He's given his list. He's got players he wants to get rid of. And he's now forced to basically put up with what he's got because the club won't back him in the market. I mean, what more evidence do they want that Mourinho's the right man? He did what he did last year with a poor squad, I believe. A lot of deadwood, a lot of people who let him down, and he still got his Champions League football in the Europa League. The owners should be there saying, I mean, it just shows you how much the owners know about football, because we as Manchester United fans know football, and we know how precarious that was, that we might not have won the Europa League. You know, everyone goes on about the Guidetti miss, but we weren't convincing. We were on thin ice. We could have easily slipped through and not won that final against Ajax. And Mourinho did a fantastic job, and it's all down to him. But it wasn't convincing. But I don't believe the owners know anything about football. I think they look at results and go, "Oh yeah, he did it, man. Wow, well done, he did it." And if they actually followed Manchester United, they would realise just how lucky they are that Mourinho's got them in the Champions League, that Mourinho hasn't had the Adidas sponsorship cup down, because he did get Champions League football. And if they knew football, I think they'd be there going, whatever you want, up to a reasonable amount. If you want 250 million, have a day off. There's 250 million. But no, they're not. They're like, no, you're not having that. We're not overspending. And it just shows you they're not really football people, because he's not getting the reward of what he did last year. And it frustrates me as a fan. So if you back it, if you think it's fine, if you think it's moaning to have an opinion on that, then are you a fan of our owners? I mean, I'm not. Even when we've done really well. I wouldn't go around wearing a scarf, but I never liked the fact that they took over the club with debt. I've never liked the fact that they've tightened the purse strings. I'd love the club to be owned by football people. I'd even more love the club to be owned by the fans, but it's never going to happen. And that is a problem. You know, we've had a very successful season. We should be competing. I've got no interest. I have said that 50 million is overpaying for Perisic, and maybe we should walk away and get a better player. But that doesn't feel like we're doing that. It feels like 50 million's too much for Perisic. We won't bother with anybody else. And that's, you know, there's a big difference between that. And ultimately, if I knew that was the situation, I'd say spend the 50 million on Perisic. Because if it's Perisic or nobody, spend 70 million on him. Because that's what Mourinho wants. I don't care how much you spend if that's the only option. Because we're very, very rich. And every bit of our money comes from the fans in one way or another. So spend the money that we put into the club. That's how I feel about it. So what else could... I think this one signing Mourinho's on about has to be a midfielder. We can talk about who else it might be, whether it be another forward or a wide player, which I do think we need. But it has to be a midfielder that his last signing is going to be. You can't move away from that because midfield is where we ran out of legs last season. Towards the end of the season, Herrera, Pogba running on empty, and we didn't have many options. We were playing Twansibi there. This season, you look at our midfield options, and yes, Pereira gives us an option in there. I agree with that. Herrera, Pogba. Now that's three. They're the three good options. Then you move on to Carrick, who is, even last season we saw, can be very good, but is a declining force and he's only going to decline even more. Fellaini is Fellaini. I'd sell him tomorrow for a bag of crisps. Some of you like him, but ultimately he's slow and he's not a great midfielder. I think as a bench option, going up front, he's an option. But that's 5. Then what else have we got? Beyond 5 midfielders, 2 of which I don't really think offer as much. You've got 3, Pereira, Herrera, Pogba. We're very, very short in the midfield and we're definitely short of a centre defensive midfielder. So that's where I feel we'll sign. Beyond that 5, yeah, you've got Twansibi can play there. Yeah, you've got Fosu Mensah there, but he doesn't ever want to play Fosu Mensah there. So it must be a midfielder we're going to sign, and that is why I'm going 8 out of 10 for Matich, because it's just got Mourinho written all over it. Somebody who's over 6 foot, who's, you know, run-of-the-mill sort of player, consistent whilst being very dull. Exactly what Mourinho wants. He's Fellaini and Carrick's love child, and again, I'll say it, he's not a bad player, but we need that midfield on. It's just so dull. It's so dull, and I think the transfer window becomes very dull. I mean, I don't know what. Let's take some of your comments. That's what we're here for. So I think Mourinho's mystery last signing is going to be Matich. If it's not Matich, I'd be excited because I don't know who it could be then, but it will be a midfielder. And the obvious options would be Dyer, who I don't think it will be because we don't want to overpay, clearly. And then you go into the realms of real excitement, because could it be Fabinho? Could it be Matuidi? Could it be Nainggolan? Or could it be somebody we don't even know about? So, yeah, it is interesting as to where we might end up with regards to that. But I do think it will be Matich. And as I was saying there, when we went into this summer transfer window, I remember quite clearly saying this summer is going to be the biggest summer ever, because we need to bring in at least 4, maybe 5 players, maybe 6. And there's going to be at least 3 or 4 going. And it's going to be a fast-paced summer. It's going to be bang, 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 bang. We're not going to know our feet hit the ground. Then we're on the US tour. Then the season starts. It's going to be one of the best summers ever. And it's not happened. It's not materialised at all. And we could walk out of this summer with Lindelof, Lukaku and Matich. And that's poor. I mean, come on, let's be honest, that's poor. It's not petulant, moody, spoilt, oh, it's the worst thing ever. But it's a poor summer. Lukaku, Lindelof and Matich is a very poor summer, I think, and I don't think it progresses you much when you consider you've lost Zlatan. I mean, Lukaku for Zlatan, you can argue till the cows come home, but I'm quite happy to be generous and say it's at least a like-for-like replacement. Lindelof, welcome. We've got Smalling and Jones, so he's welcome, and that is an improvement. Matich into the midfield, I think it gives us numbers, but it makes us very consistent with what we were last season, which is slow in the midfield. So where's the progression? Of course, anything can happen. I've read a lot of I'm going to read some of your comments now, but anything can happen. And I've read a lot of United fans today saying, oh, it's a smoke screen for Mourinho. Mark my words, we're going to sign Renato Sanchez and Alexis Sanchez and Veratti, and we're going to kill it. And I love the optimism and I love the different opinion from United fans. But what makes you think it's going to happen? I think everything is pointing towards the fact that it's going to be a disappointment. And I think Mourinho is setting us up for that. Mourinho is obviously very passionate about Manchester United and Manchester United fans. And I don't think he's in for winding us up. I think he actually is warning us very openly in a way by saying, look, I wanted 4. I'll be happy if I just get 3. I've not really been supported, and he's telling us that, and I'll be surprised if that's not the case. And why people think that we might be, I mean, imagine Arsenal are going to want very good money for Alexis Sanchez. We know Renato Sanches from Bayern Munich, they want 40 million. I mean, Manchester United have been quite consistent this summer so far. We got Lindelof for a decent price, just over 30 million, and that was way back in June. We got Lukaku for 75 million, and we basically used the money we were willing to pay for Morata, but Real Madrid wouldn't let it happen. Perisic, we've been bargaining on Perisic all summer. Basically 5 million's the difference. We wanted to pay 44, they wanted 50, and we wouldn't do it. And that, I don't think there's an appetite. I think there's a limit. I think Manchester United have set a limit, and I think it's probably 150 million. Because if you think about it, Lukaku and Lindelof comes to about 105, maybe just 110. But funnily enough, about 106 million, which is probably why we offered 44 for Perisic, because that takes you bang on to 150. I don't think United, I think Mourinho's been given a certain amount, and that's I wouldn't say it's shameful, it's disappointing, it's consistent with this ownership. I think the last 2 or 3 summers they've been quite generous. But if you look at United, under the Glazers, they're quite consistent, to be honest. When there is success, they don't like to spend. When they need to spend, they spend. When we're in danger, they spend big. When we're successful, they spend small. And look at last summer. You know, we're in the Europa League. We need to be in the Champions League. Big money spent on Pogba. Look at that season under Van Gaal. We're in the Europa League. We need to be in the Champions League. Big money spent on Di Maria. Look at the seasons when we've qualified for the Champions League, even back through Sir Alex Ferguson's years, and they don't really spend that much money. And that is typical businessmen for you. When it's going good, keep them profits coming in and keep the spend low. When it's going bad and you can project that you're going to lose more money, you've got to expend to bring money in. And that's typical business. And I think that's how they run Manchester United. So next summer, if we're finished 6th because they haven't invested in our manager, and Mourinho says, sod that, I'm off, they'll bring somebody in as a new manager and they'll spend a lot of money. If that manager then makes us finish 2nd or 3rd and we're in the Champions League, they won't give him a load of money because they're like, well, actually, we're where we are now and we can recoup the money we've spent through the Champions League. It's simple business, and I know people don't want to hear it, but that's what our ownership is. Let's read some of your comments. Using more youth since Titan purse strings, question marks, says Trevor Evans. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for using the youth. I don't think we have enough youth to challenge for the title, though. I mean, it's not like the class of '92 or the Busby Babes where you had, 5, 6, 7 really good young players. We've got Rashford, we've got Pereira, we've got Fosu Mensah, we've got Twansibi. And most of them, he doesn't play in the right position. He's playing Pereira as a centre defensive midfielder when he's an attacking midfielder. He's playing Fosu Mensah as a right back when he's a centre midfielder. He's played Rashford on the wing when he's really just a forward. He's played Twansibi as a centre defensive midfielder when he's a centre back. So is he really releasing the youth players? Is he really getting the most out of them? And have we got enough? We're definitely doing one thing right, and that is buying a lot of young players that hopefully in a few years' time will be really, really good. Cold-Hearted 2003 says, why are you so negative? Genuinely, I'm not negative. I'm really looking forward to this game tonight. I can't wait, and I hope you're going to join us for the watch-along. But I can only be honest with you, and I'm not negative. I'm just passionate about the club that I love, and I don't understand that. I feel sorry for our manager. It's not negative. I'm totally backing the manager and the players on this. They got us into this position, and only just, but they got us into this position. Mourinho wants a certain number of players to improve us, and he's not getting backing of whoever. And ultimately, it must be the ownership. He has not been backed. And people can say, oh, it's just because it's a difficult market. It's a difficult market when you don't put your money where your mouth is. And United should be, like last summer, did we moan about, contrast last summer with this summer. With Pogba, we overpaid by 30 million to shut everybody down and get him, and we got him. This summer, we don't want to go up to your asking price. We want to mess around for 2 months on Perisic and then not get him. It's a total contrast, and I feel sorry for the manager, so I'm not negative. I'm just annoyed and frustrated because I think our season next year is so confusing. We don't know what's going to happen. What we do know is going to happen is something that I said at the start of the week. Whatever you think about Lingard and Fellaini, they played nearly 70 games combined last year. If that happens next season, we're not winning the league and we're not doing well in the Champions League. They are squad players at best for any team in the top 6 in the Premier League, and we are playing them consistently as first team players. That's the problem. That's what Mourinho's trying to improve, but he's not being backed in the market. People like Phil Jones playing regularly. He doesn't want that. He wants them sort of squad players, bench players, and he wants a first 11 that United fans can look at and go, that's good enough. And he's not been backed in the market. So it's not negativity, it's reality. What I'd like some people to do is come back in the live comments and you know, maybe start I think your negative mark because of this. And I'd like to get the other side of that if we could, because it's all right saying you're negative, but I don't understand who are you defending? Because Mourinho's basically given it us on a plate that he's not being backed. So are you defending the Glazers? Are you defending Woodward's bargaining tactics or what he's being told by the owners? Let's be fair, might not be Woodward's fault. So maybe do a sentence with your negative mark and I think you're negative because of this, and then we can open up the discussion a bit. Cold Hearted 2003 says, look at this, and then he swears. No need for that. I don't really know why I'm reading your comment. Complaining and being negative. If you're so perfect, why don't you become United manager? I mean, again, I don't know whether you've got cotton wool for brains, but I've actually spent the last 25 minutes backing our manager. I don't want to be Manchester United manager. I want Jose Mourinho to be Manchester United manager, but I want him to be backed. He's not being backed. He's not being given what he's asked what he wants. He's openly said that last night, overnight in America. He's openly said he wanted this. He's not got it, and he'll make do with 3 if they'll give him the 3rd one. But he wanted 4. He's not being backed. I'm not saying I know. When have I said I know better than Mourinho? I don't agree with Matich. I wouldn't sign Matich in a million years. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope we're going to suddenly sign Matich and he's, you know, double the speed that he actually is. But I don't want Mourinho to go, and I back Mourinho. I'm frustrated with the fact that he's not been backed this summer because we have this consistent theme with this ownership where when things are going bad, they spend big. When we're in a good position, they cut the cloth accordingly and pull the money back into their pockets that they've spent when we're bad. United have consistently, even before Glazers, Keane said it after '99. United have had this problem in the last 25 years, really, where when they're successful, they don't spend, they don't build on the success. Orison's made a contribution. He says, when we signed Pogba, Bailly, Mickey and Zlatan last year, clueless fans already took the league for granted. Let's not follow the same path this year. Orison, I'm only predicting we're going to win the league because Mourinho wins the league in his first 2 years. If I'm being totally honest, I'm not going to change that view because I've been very consistent about it. But I'm only basing that on Mourinho's stats. In the real world, I can't see how we're going to win the league next year. Because also, it's alright saying Mourinho wins the title in his first 2 years. He's not been backed this summer. So he's going to have to pull a real rabbit out of the hat to win the title with a team that he's trying to improve, but he's got one arm behind his back. But that's the only reason I'm predicting it. I agree with all those people who are saying we've got no chance because he's not even been able to build the team that he wants to build. Man United Fanatic 99 says, do you think this is Jose's past coming back to hurt us? I don't know what your point is there. I don't see what Mourinho's doing wrong. He wants to bring in a certain amount of players. He's not getting that back. So I don't think it's anything to do with Mourinho. I think Real Madrid maybe screwed us over because of Mourinho and they don't like United and we won't give them De Gea. But any other club, Inter Milan actually like Jose Mourinho. He's got a good relationship with Inter Milan. But obviously they've got new owners now, so maybe that's changed. Daniel Stein says Sanchez in the name Renato Sanchez and Aurier is very realistic. Well, Daniel, Renato Sanchez, Alexis Sanchez, Aurier, Fabinho, Eric Dyer, Ross Barkley, Moura, you know, name after name after name after name. You could probably name 30 players that United could sign tomorrow. It's not through lack of players, it's through lack of appetite from United, whoever's dealing with the transfers, and maybe they're being told from higher up, there's not an appetite to go and do something unless it's within the remit of what they want to spend. Mourinho's a little bit of a checkbook manager. He's the best manager in the world as far as I'm concerned, but he's not shy about spending money, and I think if he had 300 million, which is what he should be given, he'd spend 300 million. He's obviously not got that backing, and that's sad. Okay, so you've got Arsenal in your name. I'm not going to read your comment. You've just suddenly ruined that. Hey Mark, Matuidi and Sanchez or Perisic and Fabinho, says that one master #IR. I'll tell you what, I'd take either of those pairs at the moment because I'm worried that we're only going to sign one. But Matuidi and Alexis Sanchez I would take over Perisic and Fabinho, I think, because I'd like Perisic and Fabinho, but Alexis Sanchez, let's be honest, would be a decent signing. I don't think we've got any chance, and I've been quite consistent with that. Let's take a moment to realise that players like Fellaini will play first team football for Manchester United next season, says Priest Puncher. You know, I've said it every single season with Fellaini, and I've been proved right every season. I said it last season, I said it the season before. If Fellaini plays more than 20 first team games for United this season, and I said it for the last two, we'll be battling for top four. We're never going to win the title or even battle for it with Fellaini in the team, and I'd add Lingard to that. It's just not good enough. It isn't good enough, and people think I hate those players. I just don't think they're good enough. I think they're squad players at best. Veratti incoming, says Sai78_MUFC. I would love to sign Veratti. I would love to sign Veratti, but just because Mourinho is his new agent, I don't think it will happen. I'd love to be proved wrong, but there's many reasons I don't think it'll happen. One, I think he wants to go to Barcelona. Two, I think he'll stay at PSG for a year. Three, I think Rayola's been brought in to get him a good deal for Barcelona. 4, he's 5'5", and Mourinho doesn't like anybody under 6'4". 5, I think he would cost about 80 million, and we already know United don't want to overpay. So there's just so many reasons that won't happen. But there we go. Official Niche says, would you like United to be run by billionaire Chinese owners? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Look, football is losing its soul. It's been losing it for a long time. I don't like the Glazer ownership because, and let's be honest, they're there to make money out of Manchester United. They bought us on debt. We're still in debt. We've made in the time the Glazers have owned us, we've made enough money to probably repay that debt 100 times over, maybe even more. And we still haven't paid the debt off because they've taken year on year, profit on profit on profit, and all that money is our money from the fans, and they've year on year done it. So I don't like it, even though we've been very successful at times in their ownership. Imagine what we would have been like if the money that the club makes actually gets reinvested in the club, whether it's players on the pitch, whether it's facilities, whether it's improving the ground, whether it's, you know, improving the community around, whatever. If the club actually spent the money on the club, imagine where we'd be. We'd probably obliterate everybody. The Glazers are a handicap because they take money out of the club and we have to live on a pittance. People say a pittance, but proportionately in relation to what we earn. Would I want a Chinese owner who basically comes in and they're billionaires and they say, there's £1 billion to spend this summer? Not really. I know that's happening with other clubs, but I think that's destroying the game as well. What I would like to see happen is what happens in Germany, where the clubs are owned, you know, they're much more interlinked with the fans. There's responsible ownership. I don't think they allow foreign ownership, and some people might say that's, you know, yeah, it's not racist obviously, but you know what I mean, it's not right. But I would love football to go, I mean, I don't know where football's going, but I'd love Manchester United. Manchester United, the richest club in the world, and they generate the most money in the world the right way through the support we have worldwide. And it's sad that we're not able to flex that muscle or power that we pour into the club. But it's an idealistic view that's not going to change, is it? I just think it's very sad that our manager's not being backed. And that's the bottom line. We might be saving money to get Griezmann in January, says Zed. I love that optimism. It's total nonsense, and I think we tried to find a positive in an awkward situation. But Griezmann won't come to United in January. Will be in the Champions League. He'll be cup tied. Nobody really sells players that they want that are part of their team in January. You get second rate players or players who aren't playing, like Mata. Okay, we've got loads of people watching tonight. Stephen Bauer says, read my email. I can't do it when I'm live. Glazers are a disgrace, and I agree with you. Keep the good opinion coming, Mark, says Gareth Horn. 200 million, will it be a normal price in 2025, says OG, for a player? I spoke about that last night, and United in the stands. Mark, what are your thoughts on Premier League games being played abroad? I think, again, it's just another money-making exercise. You can hide behind it's giving the global fans a chance to watch Manchester United play and everything like that, and that's very good. But what does it mean to the fans and the season ticket holders at home that everything that they've had for decades and you know, generations gets taken away so that the Premier League can make a load of money? It's a circus. It's becoming a circus, isn't it? Underscore Harvey says, have faith in Mourinho. Although he isn't getting the players he wants right now, he will have a plan. Think about the talent already in the club also, says out the United stand. I agree with that comment. I think it's a very good comment. Have faith in Mourinho is fine. But the trouble is, if we fail next season, and failure for me is third, fourth, second, whatever, we should be challenging for the title. If we fail and fall short of that, Mourinho's got a ready-made excuse. I wasn't backed in the transfer window. And why should we as fans go into the season already knowing that if we fail, it's not our manager's fault because he's not been backed? That's not the attitude or the way it should be at Manchester United. And I hope I'm proved wrong, but you know, Mourinho's getting his excuses in, and I agree with those excuses, by the way. Pete Holder says, have some faith. Raiola and Barca don't get on, so Veratti is possible, and Aurier would be a brilliant additions. But you're talking about two players for a lot of money, and Mourinho said last night he's only going to get one more. And I don't know why people are not taking on board what our manager's saying. I mean, it might be reverse psychology, and he might force. I mean, there was a good comment from somebody this morning I was reading that said that Woodward's come over to the US tour and he's there now to talk to Mourinho about transfers. Well, I hope that's true. I really do. But there you go. Ben Folan, that's your last comment. Sorry, Ben. You know why. Will Valencia be able to play tonight after his red card, says Frank Bill. I don't know. Matt is not playing tonight because he's injured, by the way. So we'll see Fellaini. It's not Skype Goldbridge tonight, United fan. It's not Skype Goldbridge tonight. In fact, tonight's meant to be a very, very quick show because we've got the transfer show to come, haven't we? Not that we haven't got a transfer show to come. What am I on about? We ain't got a transfer show to come. We've got a watch along. I've got to check something. Somebody's asked me to do this, but let me read this super chat first. Sean Atwood says, maybe they're putting all their money in Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Wish we could get Aguero if City are going to get rid of him. I'll take anybody at the moment. I mean, personally, from this point where we're only going to sign one transfer, I don't know what you lot think, but my feeling is, if I was in charge of Manchester United, I'd be quite happy with Lukaku and Lindelof. I've got no problems with those signings. Obviously, I'd want a centre defensive midfielder. I'd also want another midfielder, and I'd want a wide midfielder, and I might want another striker as well. So, of course, that is greedy to say that, but it just shows you how far away I am compared to Mourinho only getting one more signing, which I think is pretty shocking. Just want to check something here. Why haven't they put that on? Come on. Put it on. Arsenal, Manchester United. Manchester United, here we go. Manchester United, fixtures. What? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was 2:30. I thought it was 2:30. Have they put that back then? It was 2:30. It's always been 2:30. Because it's 10 o'clock on Sunday night. It's midnight next Wednesday. But it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure. I was reading your comments and everyone was saying 3. And I was like, oh, they've got it wrong. It is 3 o'clock in the morning then. Can we get some confirmation on that? 3 o'clock in the morning. Amir, I agree with you. My expectations are unrealistic about that. You can't go and sign 7 players in the summer. 4 should be the minimum, maybe get 5. But it's always been 3 a.m, says Tom Smith. Oh, you know, for some reason I thought it was 2 a.m, 2:30. So actually we'll be live at 2 a.m. then. So we've all got another half an hour in bed. It's the same as the other night. It just means I won't be going back to bed afterwards. But 3 a.m. probably suits me better because you can have a little bit of sleep. Loyalist says that Sky Sports are reporting that we're now trying to sign Thomas Muller from Bayern Munich. I mean, this is it, isn't it? You know, even though Mourinho's come out and said we're struggling and he's only going to hopefully get 1 more signing, we'll still get linked to Bale and Muller and Ronaldo over the next few weeks, because the cold hard fact is United news sells. And why would we be signing Muller from Bayern Munich? I mean, he's a sort of 10. He's a sort of 9, but it's not what we need. If Mourinho's if you're United manager now, let's get your comments on this. If you're United manager now, give me a name of a player and the position that, you know, obviously don't say Ronaldo and Messi, because 1, that's not going to happen, and 2, it's not the position I think we need. You've got 1 more player to sign for Manchester United. Think about the position, think about how we've been playing, and think about what 1 player is really important for United next season. Because for me, it has to be, although I want other positions, I do want somebody who can put a cross in, I do want another more box-to-box midfielder, but it has to be the CDM. It's got to be. It's the most obvious position, and it's got to be the CDM. And for me, it would still be Fabinho. I've been consistent all summer, but it has to be a centre defensive midfielder. Calzong is with me. He says that. Anabaf says Alexis Sanchez. Veratti says Paul Robinson. Dembele says Dare to Zlatan. Joe Kelly's Veratti. Dare to Zlatan's Veratti. Veratti's definitely the flavour of the month at the moment. Ben Fulford says Fabinho. Zero Gravity said it did say 2:30 in the morning on the MUFC fixtures page. That's obviously where I've seen it. A few people coming in with Nainggolan now. Casemiro says Johannes. Vidal or Nainggolan says Alex Howell. Yeah, but everyone's saying a defender. And I don't know, that's what I love about the United stand, to be honest. You're all spot on. I mean, we are only fans. We're only fans. We're only fans. And, you know, all they want's our money. But actually, you get the best opinion out of fans. And I love the fact that nobody's there saying, oh, I'd like Aubameyang. I mean, I'd like Aubameyang, but we need a midfielder. Red Prepper would very brave, says Matich. You know, fair play, mate. If you believe that, don't let anybody ever change your opinion. That's what football's all about. I only give mine, you give yours. Doesn't mean mine's any better than yours. Big Daddy's got William Carvalho, lovely. Matweedy says Ashik. Lots. I think Fabinho comes out on top. Roy Keane says Cosanastra. I'd take Roy Keane at his age now over Matic. He'd be more dynamic. Renato Sanchez says Elliot Hobday. And Mark, would you like Hamsik temporarily? Says that one, my master. Look, there's many players I'd take from United at the moment, because I don't think we're going to get many players. But as Fan Charles says, United need at least 3 signings, and I agree. I think 2 would just be about right. 3, Ashwari's made a contribution. He says Jose said club doesn't want to spend big on good players, but can pay big on big players. Maybe something big is coming. We can all live in hope, and I think life is about hope. So let's just hope that we will turn this round and we will do something big. Knowing Mourinho like I do as a football manager over the years and how vocal he is, he won't like the fact that his opposition tonight are spending big money on players and he's not able to do that. He won't like that. He'll be very, very frustrated. I think at the moment he's playing a straight bat and trying to be political and trying to, you know, not portray his true feelings. But you read between, you don't need to scratch low below the surface to know that, you know, he's not being supported, and he's vocally trying to, you know, stir up that support, and hopefully he will get it. But I can't wait for this game tonight anyway. I'm very, very excited about it because it's Premier League against Premier League. It's players we know against players we know. And Manchester City, regardless of whether it's an exhibition or not, we played them twice last year and they absolutely in a footballing sense, made our midfield look the slow and static midfield it is. Let's see what happens tonight, because, you know, well, let's just see what happens. Mason Stitches says, I live in Florida and I'm a huge United fan and Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. The Glazers are gutting both of my teams. Big fan of the channel. Thanks, Mason, and thanks for the contribution. Andy on 78 says one player has to be Dybala and Sanchez on loan. Well, yeah, why not get somebody on loan? I don't know why we can't do that. Mason Stitchens made another contribution. Thank you, Mason. We did Sean. Andy on 78 says City overpaying for players but leaving us behind. Look, I don't think as fans it's our job to say I'd rather not spend than overspend like City are. What does that do for us as a fan? Oh, well, at least my club didn't overspend. Oh, that really is going to make my life so much better. It doesn't matter to us if we overspend. What does it do? All it actually benefits us because we get players in. So Manchester City, oh yeah, they get a little bit of banter on Twitter because they spent 50 million on Kyle Walker. Well, I'm sure they don't like the banter, but I'm sure, you know, not very deep below the surface, they're like, well, at least I've got Kyle Walker. It's not my money, and I don't understand why United fans would sit there and go, at least we're not getting mugged off. I'd rather not have Perisic than get mugged off. If it was your money, fine. It's not your money. And actually, what you're saying is, I'd rather the Glazers took a load of profit than we spent it on Perisic, because that's the bottom line, isn't it? So, yes, football's ridiculous. Yes, the prices are getting silly for average players. But do we want to sign the players that Mourinho wants, or do we want to sit on some moral rock going, at least we didn't overspend? It makes no difference to us. Andy On says, totally right. City miles ahead of us this window, says Andy On. Thanks for the contribution. Sean Maxfield says, buy Fabinho and loan Renato Sanchez if we are skint. Yes, good one, Sean. Riak Gabriel says, Marco Veratti, Mark. I don't think it'll happen. I would take him, though. And Ferris Odie says, the AFCON has been moved to June/July. Well, it's obviously not this June or July. If it's next June or July, then that's a positive. Maybe sign a few more African players. I mean, the ridiculous thing is that Manchester United, AC Milan have got Kessie, who was a midfielder I liked, and they might be getting Renato Sanchez as well, to AC Milan. Not even in the Champions League, in a league that's not even in the top 3 leagues in the world, and they're able to do that. I think it's a poor show by United. The bookies have put as favourites to sign Veratti. Look, I don't listen to the bookies. I think they do it to make money and bring money in, and they lower the odds. They don't know anything. So look, if we sign Veratti, I'm very happy. If we sign Alexis Sanchez, I'm very happy. If we sign Ousmane Dembele, I'm very happy, and I'm happy to be wrong on that. I really am, and I'm sure you lot are as well. But if you're asking me where I'm at the moment, I'm not optimistic. I think we are penny pinching. I think Mourinho's not being backed, and I think the one signing, unfortunately, will be Matich. And as good a player as he is, he's not the midfielder we need. He's too slow. Andy Taylor 248 says, curveball idea, sign a right back like Aurier maybe, and then Tony V as a centre defensive midfielder. I've been saying for 2 years that Tony V and Antonio Valencia would make a good midfielder. He would be a very good midfielder. Tenacious, good in the tackle, drives forward, passing's not too bad. He would be good. Who knows? Be a nice curveball. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you drop a like on the video. I do enjoy these sort of videos where, I know not a lot of people are going to do, I know some people are going to disagree, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about your opinion at the end of the day. And if I've stimulated a little bit in you that gets you a little bit passionate, that makes you want to comment whether you're live or not, then that's the job of the channel done. It's not meant to be everybody agree, everybody like this. It's always, football's opinion. I have an opinion, you have an opinion. You might agree with me a little bit, you might not agree with me at all. You might have a sort of, shoot off of my opinion. Who knows? What we will all agree with, though, at 2 o'clock, not 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, we will all agree that we want to beat City, and we will all be focused on Manchester United against City. And when football comes along, we put all our concerns aside and we deal with the real. We deal with the immediate. We deal with the fact that Manchester United are playing Manchester City. Can't wait. You know what? I can't encourage you enough to tune in at 2 AM. for the build-up all the way through till full time, and be part of that community. Yeah, it's the early hours for a lot of you. For some of you, it's not. But it was magical against Real Salt Lake and LA Galaxy. It was a, you know, we do the watch-alongs normally anyway when the season's on, but they're, you know, afternoon, evening games. There's something very magical about doing it in the early hours. And I've always been a big fan of the tours, and the US tour has been fantastic so far, and the next 3 games are going to be very interesting. We're going to get a good gauge of where we are, and I can't wait. So join us. We'll be live at 2 AM with the watch-along. I'll open up the live comments probably at about, you know, a little bit later. Probably in the next hour I'll open it up so you can get on there commenting before, but I'll see you then. Really looking forward to it, and do get commenting if you're not watching live. If you're not watching live, get commenting below. Let's open up the debate on what we've been talking about tonight, because I've enjoyed that as well. And as per usual, the pub landlord's made a good comment. He says, hats off to Sir Alex, never stopped winning in spite of the Glazier black hole void where success goes to die, which is very true. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully see you on the watch along in a little bit. 2 AM we'll go live, but if not, you've all been brilliant on the comments tonight. I've read a lot of them, and it's all about opinion, so just keep getting involved. And if you are new, make sure you click that subscribe button, and I'll see you at 2 AM for Manchester United versus Manchester City. Bring it on.